Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you once again for joining us. Monday, March 8th, International Women's Day. This will be our second show in the Women's History Month. Today, we have another great week. So, I'll give you the community oriented show where we bring you leaders, people who are doing great work in the community and make such an impact. Bring them to you so that we can work the resources that. So today is just another day of doing that amazing work. Today we have another amazing community member who's been doing a great job, and she is frankly one of my favorite people in Denver. I met her a while ago, and people around here working on her business. The theme of today is Women in Business. So without further ado, welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank
nice
you.
of you to join us.
Well, thank you. I want to first thank you for inviting me to participate. African Leadership Group is one of my favorite organizations as well. You know, they have a special place in my heart. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, you are one of our favorite people as well. So thank you for joining us. And just before we start, I would like to remind everyone that the African Leadership Group scholarship is ending today, 5 p.m. So the scholarship is on our website. You can go ahead and apply, and these high school seniors who are graduating in 2020 and who are looking to go to college. You know that college is heavy cost. You would like to take some of that financial to make. If you have not had the chance to apply, you have 5 p.m. Please go ahead, head to our website about our. But as I said earlier, our theme of the day is Women in Business, and we have Miss B, who owns her business, the Denver Urban Spectrum, which is a media. All right. So before as we get started, tell the people a little bit about who is Miss B for people who may not know much about you or have not had the chance.
About me or the Denver Urban Spectrum?
Both.
Okay. Well, I moved to Denver, Colorado in 1980, and I was a graphic designer and worked at several organizations, print shop, RTV, as a graphic designer. But in 1987, I saw the need for a publication, to communicate what was going on in the community. And in 1987, a couple of friends and I, we decided to, start the Denver Urban Spectrum. And it's been going now for 34 years. We've got a lot of freelance writers. It's been supported by, solely by advertisers. So I've been fortunate, with, on that, with that. But we've been around for many years. We've covered national stories, international stories, local stories, and profiles of, a vast majority of people. Covered stories that have impacted the community, social issue stories, racism, education, just a variety of stories. Mm-hmm. One that we, and I'd have to just bring out, that I was fortunate enough to talk with you, and you shared your story about the family who perished in Green Valley Ranch, and I know that they were very close to you, and the Senegalese community is very close to me. I've been to Senegalese several times, so we try to reach out to all segments of the community.
Oh, yes, and I think that need is still felt. The Denver Urban Spectrum has been doing a great job highlighting that. But moving into Denver in the 80s, how did you feel the need? Was it that the stories were not being told, or just coming from a different perspective? Because that is also an important part.
Exactly. The stories were not being told, and we had a couple of meetings with a couple of people from the community, and that's why it's spreading the news about people of color. That's how we came up with the slogan. The stories were not being told in the mainstream newspapers that we wanted to tell, At that time, you know, there was the Denver Post, there was the Rocky Mountain News, and since then, you know, the Rocky Mountain News, I don't know, what, 10, 15, 20 years ago, it closed. But yeah, but basically it was the stories that were not being told. And we just wanted to get the word out about different stories. You know, we covered stories on 1993 when Roderick Bell got shot. We covered stories on, I forgot, you know, her domestic violence, and I forgot her, it escapes me her name, but she got shot, was paralyzed. So we look at stories that are impacting the community.
And most of, and even still to this day, there's a lot of stories about people of color that are still not being told. But one could only imagine how that was in 84, 34 years ago.
Right.
But I can imagine also that the beginning was not easy, especially wanting to cover stories that people wanted to stay away from, and having, you know, sponsors and people who wanted to support. How was the beginning, and how was the support coming from the community and the businesses?
Interesting enough, you know, we did get, it was, like I said, supported by advertising, and things have totally changed so much, you know, electronically, digitally, and all of it, you know, all of that. But, you know, we have been supported by the community, the corporate community, you know, but, you know, we've seen declines in what they've done, you know, I mean, you know, and there's been corporations like King Soopers that, you know, they supported us for like 20 years. I mean, even Safeway, you know, they were supporting us, but, you know, things have changed in their corporations where they couldn't, you know, where they held back on print. So some advertisers have fallen back because they're looking at the digital advertising, which is one of the things that we're working on now, because, you know, we see where the print is going, and people are wanting to do digital. But overall, you know, I can't complain too much. We've had our peaks and our valleys, but some kind of way we kind of maneuver through those.
And what looking back to the 34 years, which is a long time, I wasn't even born back then. But
oh, you're aging me now. You're aging me.
You still look great. You still look great. But 34, looking back, 34 years of existence in business. A lot has changed, as you were just talking about print and all of that. But especially on the business side, what has been the most challenging thing looking back through all the existence of the urban spectrum?
You know, I think with every business, it's always about the economics and the, you know, the funding and getting the money and getting loans and, you know, that type to, you know, to sustain your business. And fortunately, we never really got a big loan, but it's always been the advertising. There's been times in the past where it's February, which is usually a month where people, you know, some of the corporations, they say, well, we'll get in, it's Black History Month, you know, they want to sell cars, they want to do this because it's Black History Month, or, you know, but you know what? Black history is every month, you know, I mean, we used to capitalize on it because, you know, we can get it, but it's like, well, what about March? You know, you're still, you know, doing things that, you know, that the community still needs to do, whether or not it's, you know, selling clothes, whether it's not, you know, whether it's not selling energy, whether it's not phone service, they're still going to do it. So, you know, it was kind of, you know, a little disappointing because, you know, they would, you know, do it, you know, for their image, for Black History Month, but then, and then, you know, then we wouldn't get it maybe for, you know, the other months. But there's, you know, so we had our peaks. You know, there was maybe Juneteenth, you know, Juneteenth, Black History Month, maybe Martin Luther King, a little bit.
Okay, a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I guess going into, first of all, the reason it was started, right, which is telling Black stories, and then reaching out through advertisement and having those support you. What has been your audience? Was your audience the people whose story you were trying to tell, or were your audience the people who wouldn't necessarily go out and try to find the stories about black people?
Well, you know, originally we started out, we originally started out for women of color. In our very first year, we focused on Native American, Latino, Asian, and African American women. That was really our first year. But it kind of changed because the Latino community, they had their, they really had their, their publications. And we were focusing on women, and God rest his soul, but James Van Buren, he was the first, and he passed several years ago. The next year, he was on one of our covers, and he was so excited because he was the first male. That was, he was the first male on the cover. And but James Van Buren, he passed, maybe 7, 8 years ago, I'm not sure, but he was a local musician around town. So he was very excited about that. So our focus kind of changed, our focus, because we saw the need for our community. We saw the need for our community. And the stories, so we were the go-to paper for advertisers and people to reach our community. So our stories are being told, they would reach out to us to reach our community.
Yeah, and then it's important work to be able to build that bridge and build that platform where community comes to get the news, but also other people come to you so that the community can get the resources that they're offering.
Exactly.
And that's not, that's, sometimes people can see it as a business, but it's more than that, because that work is actually, it takes a lot to be able to do that, but also to be able to offer those resources to the community. And so thank you so much for all the work that you've done. You've done a lot, and you continue to do a lot. So how, and I guess 34 years, a lot has happened. What were the stories that were the most exciting ones to cover?
Well, I'm going to talk about some of the international stories. Raila Odinga, when he was here, he was from Kenya, and he was here with the Kenyan community, and we had a great time with him, spending some times with him. Of course, we had a great time covering stories on Oprah Winfrey. We went to one of her shows and did a cover story on her, and that was wonderful. And of course, I can't leave out the Obamas. We did extensive coverage on him while he was running, with special sections. Another very good friend of mine, is Princess Asi Okanzi. She's from Ghana. So these are some of the international stories and some of the national stories. We've done a lot of celebrities, starting with Tyler Perry. Let's see, Tyler Perry, and media, local media people. From Joy Reid from MSNBC.
MSNBC.
Yeah. What do you think? But we've done local stories on Cleo Parker Robinson. She's a you can't miss her. And of course this man here. And, African Leadership Group. Papa Dia, he's done some wonderful things, and we want to keep covering what he does. Organizations, I could go on and on and on and on and on and talk about organizations. It's
34 years, so
right,
I'm sure there's a lot of great
organizations, local organizations like the Links, they just donated $100,000 to the Center for African American Health. We've got an article in this upcoming issue about that. I'll probably think about somebody later that I should probably have mentioned, but you know how it goes.
Yeah. In the 34 years, what has changed from your perspective and your observations within the Denver, as far as African American culture and politics and involvement goes, and also the fact that now there's a lot more immigrants. I could imagine there's a lot more how has been, what are some of the great changes that you've observed covering the news?
Well, I think that things that are going on in the other countries are very important, like the country in Ethiopia,
the Tigray and the Oromos.
Yeah. I think that those issues are very, very important, that that people should jump on and understand. We've actually got a story on Millette that talks about what she's gone through with her family, how I think she lost her aunt, and she's looking for her mother. So they're also important, and we try to cover as much as we can. Right now we're involved with another organization, the CoLab, which is very instrumental in helping us, get some of those stories taken care of.
And some of those stories are really hard to cover, especially when it's so far away and there are people that are so close that are being impacted, impacted by it, and covering it just like you did with that article and making it personal, because sometimes when it's something happening outside of the country, it's so hard for people to relate because it's coming from the outside and people see it as happening to aliens. But just being able to tie those things together and have it come from somebody who they may see as somebody who's close to them, who lives in the same city and that's being impacted by it. So
one of the things I want to say, you did ask about what the challenges are, and unfortunately we lost the Denver Urban Spectrum just recently lost two very valuable, two deaths, very valuable writers, which is a very devastating loss. One passed in December and one passed in actually February, and they had been writing with the Denver Urban Spectrum for many, many, many years. So one of the other things that we could use more are journalists, and actually some journalists to join us, join our team. We've got a small pool, but we need some fresh voices and some fresh faces that would like to explore and help get the stories out.
And I mean, there is a lot of storytellers out there who take this opportunity. The Denver Urban Spectrum is a great platform that will ultimately help you share your stories, and we need the stories from our communities to be shared by our own, that they come from our own perspective, and that we get the opportunity to tell our stories the way that we are living them, and make sure that we are getting represented the way that we want to be represented, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So get in touch with Miss B if you're a writer and you want to get into writing, or you're a storyteller and you want to tell our stories and help people know about our stories, but also if you care about representation and being able to represent our community the way that we want to be represented. So it is International Women's Day today, March 8th. We celebrated International Women's Day here at the African Leadership Group this past Saturday. If you missed it, we have the recordings on our Facebook. The recordings will be on our YouTube later this week. And also you can find the stories on our website. And during this International Women's Day, we celebrated women from our community who have been doing amazing work and been having impact within our community. So it is a day to celebrate women, as we did last week and we did earlier in February. We will still be doing that. So International Women's Day, as a woman who's been in the media and having your own business, how have you been treated any differently that you've seen other people being treated? Being a woman business owner and also operating in the media, because recently we've seen a lot of stories in the past 4 years, women in the media space coming out to really have their voices be heard.
Have I been treated differently as far as a business owner? I guess I probably have to say somewhat.
Somewhat.
Yeah, somewhat. But I don't think it's impacted me to the point where I would say I'm done with this. I'm not, you want to give up. It's always just a time to encourage other women and young women. It's like, follow your dream. Mm-hmm. You got to follow your dream. I didn't expect that. When I started this publication, I didn't realize, the impact that it would have on the community. I just really look at it like almost like just a business, just a way of supporting the community, a way of recording history. And that's what I really see. I really see it as a way of recording history. And with the internet, everything, it's all there. On our website. It's right now. It's there permanently.
Yep, and it will stay on the internet for years, for years to come. So it is a great way of recording history. So on the cover of this month's issue, we have the VP, Kamala, or Mamala, as she likes to be called. And Kamala Harris, I'm just got used to calling her Mamala. But being a woman and a black woman at today elected as the first woman, and that also makes her the first woman of color to be the Vice President of the United States, the highest office in this land that a woman has ever held. You've covered that extensively. Why was it so important for that to be covered?
Look at me. Look at me. No, I think it's, people kept saying you never thought that you'd see, Barack Obama, the first African-American male, Now, with Kamala, being the first vice president, and then potentially first woman president, there's big desire, big chance for her to become the first woman president. I mean, it's, and it's at a time where there's so much racism going on, which is so unfortunate. But and I think that's the reason, though, because of this change. And I still feel that the George Floyd event was the turning point for everything. Last year was 400 years. I mean, that we were enslaved, and it's time. I think it's the time, and I think that the racism that's eroding and coming out right now is because they know it's the time as well. And it's kind of a scary and unfortunate time. But I think it's gonna be okay. And
that was, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question, covering the racism, the police brutality. I've read issues that you've done with about that, and people writing. It's how. It's not easy, first of all, just to talk about it in an everyday setting, but reporting on it has to be hard on a different level. How was your experience recording that?
Yeah, well, we had several writers, and we do have the George Floyd issue. I probably should have brought it in, but with the George Floyd issue, whenever we have a theme, we kind of focus on several areas within that theme. Even with women's history, black history, but there was several articles, all what were relevant to the George Floyd incident, and like I said, I wish I had brought the issue in here. We could have looked at those articles, but we kind of go with the whole theme, and the writers will, it'll be focused on this or focused on this. It'll be all regarding the racism, historical perspectives, how they've impacted, the community.
Yeah, and I have to say, one of the things I love about the Denver Urban Spectrum is within one team you'll have several different perspectives, and we live in a world where it seems as though we can no longer agree on what the facts are, and so the only thing we have to go through is our own perspectives,
Right.
which are informed by the things, how, you know, the lens through which we see the world, and those are informed by the things that we've lived through. And so if there's any issue out there that you want to learn more about, there couldn't be a better place than the Denver Urban Spectrum. It's all about the perspective, and I say this a lot to my friends. It's perspectives will honestly give you a lot of knowledge, because we have to go beyond the facts if we can no longer agree on what the facts are. 34 years in business, and still a lot longer more to go, because the impact is amazing, and we still need the Denver Urban Spectrum to be there. For people who, again, might not still understand of why do we need, you know, a issue that just talks about Black history, Black stories. And we get a lot of these questions a lot, and people are saying, well, why do we need Black History Month? We hear these things a lot. Why do we need, the Black Academy Film Image Awards? Why do we still need those things? And in a little resume to help people know that there is still a great need for our story to be told, because they're still not being seen as main stories. If you could just help people out there who may have that question, or may still be wondering why things like this are so important.
You know, our history is so vast, you know, and I think that, you know, I don't even know everything that I want to know. And I think our youth today, they're at a loss with the history. And it all goes back to the motherland. You know, I have a special place in my heart for the motherland. You know, I mean, I went there in 1999 with Mayor Webb, and I have 4 sons, you know, that I communicate with all the time. You know, Joseph, he's here, Francis, Tony, and Richard. I have a granddaughter in Ghana. Okay, but you know, I think that will change people's lives when they go to the motherland and they realize this is where you came from. This is your history, and there's so much to learn about, you know, our history. And I think it's important that people really realize and look at their ancestry and see, you know, I did mine, and well, yeah, and. I thought it was going to be from, not Senegal, but gosh.
Gambia.
No, not Gambia. Nakeda Ricks. Where is it?
Oh,
no, not Liberia. I'm sorry, not Liberia. Not Liberia. Yeah. No, it'll come to me this moment. It's like, I don't know, why am I not thinking this? Why am I not thinking this? But anyway, I think that, you know, young people and, you know, and even parents, they need to, you know, the stories just need to be told. You know, everybody's got a story. You know, everybody's got a story, and the more we learn, the more we're educated. You know, and the other thing, I guess, because social media, you know, people post stuff on social media. It's not really true. You know, I mean, a lot of you can't believe. That's why we lost the election before. You know, because you know, that's why 45 got in there, because of, you know, how people are embedded. I mean, you watch those movies, Social Dilemma. You watch those movies and you see what's going on. So you gotta understand. You know, I know you said different perspectives, but you got to really understand what you want to, what's in your heart, and what you want to believe.
Mm. And definitely, the stories have to be told, and they have to be, and these are our stories. We have to be the ones to tell them, because there's a saying from South Africa that says, as long as if the lion is not telling its story, the hunter will always be the winner in that story. And so it's time that our stories are being told from our own perspective and our own views, and that we are claiming what is ours. So and throughout this, we've talked both about the international stories, and you just talked about how important the motherland is for you. And there seems to be a misunderstanding between our communities of African Americans who have been here and our African immigrants. A misunderstanding of, frankly, it's just a misunderstanding of the journeys, where we're not understanding where people come from. How can we build a bridge to between those two communities? Because I know you've been doing a lot of great work on that. How can we build that bridge and make those communities stronger and make sure that we are listening to each other's story and having a better understanding?
Well, I'm just going to say, I think that's what the African Leadership Group is doing. And I have to, give kudos and praise, Papa Dia for what he's been doing, because I see that bridge. And I know he's had different events and different organizations where they've had seminars and workshops and things like that, bridging that gap. So, and I may have, I don't think I was involved in one of those, but I think that's a great start right there, because there has been a lot of talk saying that the Africans and the African Americans, like it's still not, it's, I guess it's true partially, but it needs to be corrected. It needs to be corrected. Yeah.
It does needs to be corrected, and as you said, we are here trying to do some of that work. It's great work. It's not something that the African Leadership Group can do by itself. It's something that our communities have to be invested in. Some of it is education, and the other part of it is just having an open mind and being able to listen and do your research and understand where people are coming from, because honestly, most of it is just about misinformation and not knowing the full story of it. So I guess
we'd like to work with you on something. We need.
Yes. We always welcome the partners, and so as he said, we would like to work with everyone who wants to work with us. Our table is open. As we say here, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, but our table has endless chairs, so everybody is welcome to the table. You don't have to be on the menu unless you choose to be. You choose to be on that. Unless you choose to be on that menu. Again, 34 years. It's really amazing to see that, and print, as you said, is there's a lot of things that's going on with the media. Everything is being digitalized. Denver Urban Spectrum is going through that process. What are some of the changes that we can await regarding that transition to digital?
Well, one of the things that we're working on, starting back our Journalism Foundation program, and we want to, we've got one of our honorees from our African Americans Who Make a Difference. He's going to help direct that program. We want to reach out to journalists from the HBCUs, so that the intern program, so that way we can be connected from across the states, through the universities and the colleges. So that's on the horizon right now. So that way they can, they'll be journalists. So they'll be trained journalists. So that way, it would be a great connection, so that we can see what's going on in this city and what's going on in this city. Because that's what it's all about, connecting. It's all about connecting.
It's all about connection, and yes, and all these issues are also available on the Denver Urban Spectrum. Aside from the digital side of it, where can people find copies on the monthly basis? Because of COVID, with the limited,
we've decreased some of our printing, but they're still available at certain locations. Certain locations. I think a few of the churches, I think down in the 5 Points still, but and I'd have to check with our distribution manager. But we have got select locations right now. But every publication is available on our website. And you can sign up on our website and look at all the publications from 2000. I think we're down to 2010 or 2011. So all the publications are in a digital format.
Yep. Yeah, so 10 years of publications are on there, and as you said earlier, it's a way of recording his history, and you can find all of that in there, and you know, every month these are monthly issues, and they treat a lot of themes and subjects. So please head there to get your monthly news and be educated from different perspectives and hear stories and be connected with what's going on not only in Denver, Colorado or the US, but also internationally. So it's...
I want to just mention about this cover art on the cover. You know, it's interesting enough how, you know, you still have relationships. The artist who did this cover, his name is Scott Kingley. And he used to live in Colorado, and he did a cover of the Denver Urban Spectrum maybe, oh gosh, 25, 30 years ago. You know, he used to do a lot of the art, and actually I've got a portrait that he did of me, and he's on Facebook, and his art was so, so beautiful, and he does a lot of people of color. And I communicate, so Facebook is not all bad, you know. So I reached out to him and asked him, I said, had he done a portrait yet of Kamala? And he says no, but he said he would love to. So that's how this artwork came about, you know, for this special issue. Just wanted to share that. And if anyone wants to see his work, please do so. Scott Kingley, he's on Facebook.
And so for aspiring writers, journalists, or artists, designers, if they're out there and you are interested, please reach out. And how can they reach out to you?
And another person that we would love to have on that we need is marketing and sales consultants. Anyone that's interested in advertising, sales consulting, and marketing and social media manager, they can reach out they can call our office at 303-292-6446.
That is 303-292-6446. 6446. All right, I'm not great on math. That is why I'm sitting here. Otherwise,
and they can also send an email to publisher@urbanspectrum.net.
Publisher@urbanspectrum.net. Yes. So please, if you are aspiring to have a career in any of these areas, marketing, writing, social, digital media. Or you're an artist and you've been doing a lot of art covers and you'd like to work with them, reach out. They'll work with you. I've worked with her in the past. She's great. She's great. So please reach out and work with her if that is something that you are interested in. But this has been a great 40 minutes. I've had fun. Yes, it's. I'm sorry for everybody else who's been here, but this is my favorite episode so far, because as I told you before, she's one of my favorite people. So thank you so much for coming and joining us today. Any last word of wisdom to our community? What message would you like to send out there for young women in our community, since today is International Women's Day?
Young women, I think, for all young women, I think you need to follow your dream. Know that anything is possible. You pick up that Denver Urban Spectrum and you look at Kamala Harris, you read her story, and you understand that if she can do that, you can do that. You know, the sky is the limit. You know, you can break that ceiling, that glass ceiling, just like so many other women. But, there's a lot of historical, women out there, and I think you should research them. I mean, even Amanda Gorton, she was wonderful. I mean, when you look at this inauguration that we just recently had, all the wonderful women, that were presented there were just phenomenal. So I just want to encourage young women and young ladies to just follow their dreams and, go for it. Just go for it.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely go for it. That message was loud and clear. That message was loud and clear. So happy International Women's Day to you. Happy International Women's Day to all the women out there, the mothers, the sisters. Thank you so much for everything that you've been doing, for holding up our society and saving us, frankly, within the past couple of years. So the message is loud and clear. Follow your dreams. If you want to do it, you can can do it, whatever the mind can think of, definitely it is something that can be done. So go out there and follow your dreams. As for the African Leadership Group, we are exactly doing that, following our dreams to impact people in our community. And so we are continuing to have events. Next Monday, which is the 15th of March, we have our monthly legal clinic, and you can sign up for that. It is on our website. It is also on our social media. If you yourself or know anybody else who need legal advice, please send them that information. You can come to our monthly legal clinic. It's a free legal clinic. You'll be able to meet with lawyers, privately and talk to them about your issues, and they'll give you advice, and that will be happening over Zoom. But you'll be put into a private room where it would be just you and your it will be just you and the attorney that you want to see. Also, if you're worried about whether the attorney speaks the language that you want to speak, we can translate in a couple of different languages. So also do not let that be a barrier to you coming. Also on Tuesday, March 16th, we are launching our 9th session of the public speaking class. The last class graduated on February 9th, and so this next class will be starting March 16th. If you are out there and you want to participate in this class to work on your content and character, so that we can get you ready for you to go out there and sit at that table, represent our community, please join us. Please join us on March 16th, and then our scholarship will be ending today, March 8th at 5 p.m. So please, if you've been working on that, or if you've been waiting on something, make sure that you turn in your application today for our scholarship. It is up today till 5 p.m. Today, March 8th. Please make sure you turn in that application. So those are the different events that we'll have in the month of March, and we'll be closing the month on March 24th. Wednesday, March 24th, we'll have our home ownership. We have our home ownership event, and so the home ownership event is for anybody who would like to work on their credit, who would like to work on their credit and be on their way to become a homeowner. It doesn't have to be that you're just ready to get home and you come get help. We can help you and put you on the right path. So it starts from credit. We have lenders, and we have the people who will help you get to your house. So it's basically from working on your credit all the way to getting the keys to your house. We have people who are ready to help you, and that is also held for free. So these are all events that we are taking on. These are all activities that we are taking on to make sure that we reach our goal, which is impacting our community socially, economically, and also in the education space. So thank you so much for joining us today. Happy International Women's Day to all the women out there. And as for this show, we'll see you next Monday for another topic. Please take care of yourself. Goodbye.